Hello, my loves. Happy solstice. Happy Saturn-Pluto conjunction. Happy welcome to the age of Aquarius, which officially starts today. I wanted to talk today about Ascension because I've been talking about it a lot, and I'm getting some questions from some of you like, this all sounds good, Rachel, but like, what the heck is Ascension? So let me give you the full background on it. So Ascension is, from what I've come to understand, it's really the process of transcending the ego. And it is also the process of raising your vibration. So the ego is that little voice inside of you that creates a lot of fear thoughts and a lot of fear noise that says you're not good enough to do this, you're not pretty enough, you're not talented enough, you'll never make enough money doing that. The ego is the little voice that kind of keeps us small and contained and keeps us in familiarity, even though our familiarity might totally suck and not be a place that we want to live in. The ego serves to keep us safe, but what it ultimately does is it keeps us contracted and small. And so in order for us to build more expansive, happy, joyful lives, we have to transcend that fear voice that wants to stop us in our tracks. So that's what the process of ascension is. And it also means that as you transcend fear, you are raising your vibration. And so what does raising your vibration mean? That's another term I use a lot that you may not be familiar with. Your body emits an electromagnetic energy field. It can be measured by scientific instruments. When you're in low vibration emotions like fear, shame, guilt, anger, you emit lower frequency energy from the body's field. When you're in higher vibration emotions like joy, love, enlightenment, you emit higher frequency vibrations from the body. So these are things that we can't necessarily see with our eyes, but we can feel them. For example, if you walk into a room and someone has been fighting, and you walk in and you immediately feel like, ooh, the energy is not good in this room, like what's going on? That is your body reading the energetic field that is coming off of the people in the room, or the energy that is being held in the room because of the energy field of the people that are creating that energy. So you're all familiar with an energetic field, even though maybe you're just not using these words to describe it. So what we want to do is move out of this space, and this is partly from, if you don't know about my favorite poster back here, you probably do if you've been watching my videos. All right, I'll get it out. I can't not get it out. When we live in these lower vibration emotions, I realize this is hard to see, and you've got a nice orb, but shame, guilt, hopelessness, grief, fear, anger, pride, all at the bottom. This is the three-dimensional world that is very much based on we are victims of our circumstances, we are separate from other people, we get stuck in negativity, we have to work really hard to get the things that we deserve. A lot of us were taught that if you don't work hard, you can't get anything in life. Just a lot of false beliefs down in this part. So ascension is the process of then moving up through this vibrational scale where you start to move into courage, neutrality, acceptance, reason, logic, and you get relief from these really low vibration human emotions that really feel pretty awful. You start to become happy, you start to become stress-free. So this is when in the 3D world, all we recognize as ourself is our body. And so it's a very sort of animalistic way, like it's just based on survival, limited resources. As you move into the 4-dimensional world, now you're starting to recognize the mind as part of yourself. So 3D means we see forwards, backwards, left, right, up, down, and that's it. We don't recognize anything beyond that. In 4D, we start to realize there's energy involved. We have this consciousness in our mind that our mind is also a part of ourself, and that's not something we can see or quantify in a 3D way. This is the 4th dimension of existence, is our mind. So we start to recognize that our mind is ourself, and that as we accept our circumstances around us, we can relieve a lot of our suffering. We become more self-empowered, we become more stress-free, more positive, things start to happen more easily for us. And then as we continue moving into the 5D is where we recognize that we're not just our body and our mind, we are actually our soul. So that's our fifth dimensional level of consciousness. And when you move into, this is the quantum field, you move into unconditional love, joy, freedom, enlightenment. I have to sneeze. I can't sneeze. We start to really connect with our higher self, which is a way of saying your soul, a way of saying the energy that has that comes from God, source, creator, that has created you, that you are an extension of. So when we move into this, we really move into an expanded soul consciousness, expanded self-realization. We start to experience miracles, synchronicities. We begin to be able to manifest, co-create our lives with our higher power, with the energy of source. And so that's our process, is moving through this ascension and really changing the way we view the world and the way we view our lives. And as we do that, we can call in a lot of beautiful energy and a lot of beautiful support into our lives. And we really fully transcend the ego, because we realize the ego is just a voice in our head and it's not who we are. And so that fear stops controlling and running our lives. Now, there are forces in this world that do not want us to ascend, because when we ascend, we're unable to be controlled, because we no longer live according to fear. We live according to our intuition, according to the way our higher self speaks to us. And there are forces in this world that want us to be afraid and want us to spend our money in certain ways. They want us to follow the systems that are put in place. They want us to be controlled. They want us to be sheep people. They want us to blindly follow the rules and the rhetoric. And so what's happening is we're moving out of this fear-based, control-based system into the age of the Aquarian, which is much more communal, much more environmentally focused, much more 5D, where we're going to be co-creating and manifesting the lives that we desire, not working so hard and hustling and doing so many jobs and getting so many degrees. We're going to begin to just create the life we desire, rather than pushing and forcing and shoving when we're in those lower 3D energies and emotions. So what forces don't want us to ascend? Big agriculture, big pharma, right? They want us to eat big food companies. They want us to eat toxic food and get on prescriptions and rely on the medical system, because that's how they generate money. But when we become free of that, we start growing our own food, when we start being our own healers, we start using energy for healing, we start going back to herbs, we don't need those systems anymore. And so there are forces, and they're dark forces, that don't want us to ascend. And so essentially what's happening as we move into this age of Aquarius, we are moving into a new era, and these old systems, these old structures that have been in place, that have been feeding off of and stealing our energy and keeping us in fear, they are crumbling. The patriarchy is crumbling. Women are more empowered, more enlightened than ever before in history. We are coming back into our divine feminine energy, and it's very much 5D. And so women have been labeled in many ways and held down, so that we can't access that intuition that's very strong in the woman. So I've done a whole other talk on this, but women have been suppressed through being labeled the whore, right? Our sexuality has been controlled and shamed. We've been controlled by being labeled the bitch, so you're not allowed to speak up, you're not allowed to make a fuss, you're not allowed to demand your rights. And also as the witch. So we've been trained to not use our natural healing techniques, to rely on the system, and we have been made fearful of using natural supplements, of herbs, of things to heal ourselves. So we've been suppressed in many ways, but this whole thing is crumbling, right? All the natural healing methods are coming back. People are growing food in their yards like never before, in my lifetime at least. And part of the reason that all this is happening is because on an astrological perspective, we are in today is the day, December 21st of 2020, that Saturn and Pluto conjunct in the tightest conjunction they've ever been. It just means that in our sky, they look as close together. They actually look like one giant star, the two biggest planets in our solar system. And these planets conjunct in 20-year cycles. And so the last conjunction was in 2000, right? Think about all the changes that happened in the year 2000. So we're in a 20-year cycle. We're also in a 200-year cycle. And beyond that, we are in an 800-year cycle. So this is the closest Saturn and Pluto have been together in 800 years. So 800 years ago, when this happened, was the end of the Dark Age and the dawning of the Renaissance. So just imagine that right now we are in the modern Dark Age. We are in the modern Dark Age of all of these big companies having control, taking our money, feeding into the billionaires, feeding into the patriarchy. That is all ending and dying, and we are rebirthing. And that's part of why COVID showed up this year. It is part of our rebirth into the age of the Aquarian. So we are ascending on an individual level, right? A lot of us are processing past trauma. We are working through generational patterns. We are releasing trapped emotions that don't serve us. We are learning more about meditation, crystals, essential oils, herbs, natural supplements, energy healing, Reiki. This is all part of the movement into the age of the Aquarian, and this is only going to accelerate now that we are officially in the new energy. So it doesn't mean that, boom, everything in your life changes overnight, but it does mean that the rate at which this unfolds continues to go on. And we don't really have a choice. If we don't do this, if we don't move into a more globally communal, holistic, environmentally friendly way of living, we would destroy ourselves. The planet cannot survive at the rate that we are using fossil fuels and ingesting animal protein and polluting the environment, putting plastics out, right? The human race will kill itself if we don't evolve into a new way of living. So we are ascending individually, processing our own fears, traumas, releasing. We are also doing this as a collective. So you're seeing everyone rise up. So some are ahead of others, but essentially we're all moving. And there are some who will resist this movement, but it's not going to be pretty for them. I can tell you that. So yeah, we're moving into this more peaceful, humanitarian, spiritual era, and it's going to be a very big shift in the next 20 years. It's going to be really magical and magnificent. So if you are feeling this call to do healing work, to be like, I don't like my life the way it is, I want something different, I want something better, heed that call. That is your intuition speaking to you. That is your Aquarian spirit that is trying to move you forward and accelerate you. So keep following the things that light you up and that get you excited, and keep recognizing that fear when it shows up, and keep recognizing where people, government, media, systems are trying to keep you fearful and trying to keep you stuck in the paradigm where they can control you. Start to recognize that, because that is blowing up right now. It is crumbling, it is falling apart, and we are moving into a space of much, much, much more autonomy, much more humanitarianism, and I am just extraordinarily excited to see where this life goes. So that is a snippet of what the process of ascension is. There's a lot of steps in doing that. There's a lot of inner work in doing that, but ultimately is the goal of feeling better, living better, doing better, and taking care of our fellow mankind better. And it's a really beautiful, exciting process. So I hope that gives you guys some clarity on what Ascension is, why we're doing it, why we're talking about it, why you want to get on board with it. And if you guys have any questions or comments about it, please post in the comments.